Welcome on board, Chosen One. Great. Now that the door's shut, let's talk about what nobody else had the spine to tell you. What they said about you? Cute. All that noise they made, all that mockery they threw at your name, all those little comments they whispered like they were throwing daggers. Every single one of them aged like expired milk. Look who's getting studied now. Look who's triggering alerts. Look who's making entire systems sit up straight. The legend they wanted to bow. Turns out the legend doesn't kneel. The legend gets tracked. Here's the part that slaps harder than their cheap insults. The world didn't suddenly become silent around you by accident. That shift you felt, that weird calm that made you think something was off, that wasn't your imagination. That was the moment the universe dimmed the lights, locked the doors, and said, "Watch this one closely." The people who doubted you the most are now quiet because they realized something sickening to their ego. You didn't fall. You evolved. You didn't break. You sharpened. Press the like button and subscribe to pay this message back. Every chosen one knows this moment. That eerie stillness after surviving too many hits that should have melted you. You stand there like someone who just walked out of a battlefield, not wounded, not wheezing, but calm, collected, dangerous. And your enemies? They're pretending everything is normal, but behind closed doors, they're pacing, questioning, rewinding every moment they underestimated you. They feel the shift too, even if they'll never admit it. Thank you for being part of this mission. You're not here by accident. Liking and subscribing isn't just support. It strengthens this collective voice. Back to the truth they hoped you'd never figure out. They don't watch the weak. They watch what scares them. They monitor the ones who rise too fast, too quiet, too clean. And you, chosen one, you've been moving like a quiet storm. Nothing flashy, no big announcements, just consistent elevation. On the outside, you look like the same person. But behind the curtain, you triggered alarms you didn't know existed. Digital systems shifted their focus to you. Decisions in private rooms suddenly include your name. Your energy is traveling faster than your body ever has. You don't have handcuffs on, yet you're being watched. You're not on trial, yet your name floats between encrypted servers and silent networks. Why? Because what's coming your way isn't small. You're not walking toward change. You're walking toward inheritance, legacy-level rise. Most people never get this kind of attention. Federal-level surveillance isn't just for criminals. It's often triggered by unexplained spikes in digital patterns, sudden future influence, unexpected financial alignment, and rising potential that threatens the grid. Right now, you're a walking flag to these systems. Not because you're dangerous to society, but because you're about to break out of everything society built to contain you. And your intuition? It's been screaming louder than reality. The strange dreams, the sudden distance from people who used to drain you, the eerie sense of being watched, but not by human eyes. That isn't paranoia. That's pattern recognition. Your subconscious figured it out before your conscious mind did. Your rise pushed you into a territory most never touch. You're being prepped for something far bigger than a promotion or a paycheck. This is inheritance-level alignment, the kind of shift that doesn't just upgrade your life. It rewrites your entire existence. You're under protective observation, not because you messed up, but because you were selected. You walked through fire most people couldn't even stand near. You took betrayal, failure, silence, loneliness, sabotage, and instead of collapsing, you hardened. You rose. You kept moving, even when everything around you seemed designed to stop you. That wasn't punishment. That was training. That was the universe stripping you down, rebuilding you, recalibrating you. Now the rewards that belong to you have started circling. Wealth, opportunities, energy, alignment, All of it is lining up like storm clouds ready to crack open. But here's the catch. Wealth is noisy even before it arrives. Systems detect its approach before you do. That's why people disappeared. That's why plans crumbled. That's why your routines got shaken. Your name is appearing in rooms your feet haven't touched yet. Your movements, financial, emotional, spiritual, energetic, are sparking unusual attention. They've seen this signature before. It's the signature of someone who rises too high, wakes up too far, and becomes too powerful to control. You're being watched not because you're dangerous, but because you're becoming untouchable. This inheritance is protected by layers most humans never experience. Forces are making sure it lands exactly where it belongs. And yes, some are terrified of you receiving it. Because when the right person gets the right resources, everything built on controlling them collapses. So if you've been feeling eyes on you, you're not wrong. The delays, the sudden blessings, the interference, the shutting down of old paths, those are not random. Those are reroutes. That's protection. That's alignment. You're not imagining anything. You're not losing your mind. You are being monitored because something massive is forming around you. The universe always knows before you do. And trust me, your enemies know too. They're whispering, they're restless, they're scared. Because this inheritance isn't just money. It's the burial of everything that tried to bury you. And listen closely, chosen one, yes, you, the one who somehow survived storms that should have erased you. Before we go any deeper, I need you locked in with full awareness. You're not watching some random video. You're stepping into classified territory. If you're ready to walk through this surveillance, this inheritance, this rise that has entire systems shifting their eyes toward you, then prove your focus. Drop a 777 in the comments as your signal flare, your mark that you're awake and ready. This isn't for entertainment. This is you confirming that you understand the world isn't watching you out of boredom. It's watching you because something massive is on its way to your hands. And now, let's move into this step by step. And trust me, if you're truly one of the chosen ones being monitored for the power you're about to receive, you'll feel that pull to stay until the very last word. The universe put you here for a reason, and the next part will hit even harder. Let's get started. Number 1. They never stalk the forgotten. Only the ones about to take the throne. Funny how they once called you nobody, yet somehow you're on every radar they built to track a rising threat. They said you were harmless. They swore you'd never matter. They laughed at your silence, mocked your setbacks, and told stories about how you'd never get far. Cute. Now look at the same people choking on their own predictions, watching you from the shadows like you turned into a walking glitch in their entire system. They don't chase ghosts, chosen one. They stalk the ones who survived every trap, every betrayal, every downfall, and still kept rising like you didn't understand the meaning of collapse. You want to know why they're watching you now, after ignoring you for so long. It's because you stopped being invisible. You became inevitable. You're no longer a maybe. You're a threat-level guarantee. You walk like the future belongs to you, because deep down, even they know it does. When you move now, the air shifts. Rooms tense. Conversations break. People who never cared suddenly keep tabs. Whole networks begin whispering your name like it's a password to something dangerous. They don't stalk background characters. They only track the ones scripted to rewrite the entire storyline. You're thunder rolling through hallways they once swore you'd never enter. You're the error message blinking on their control panel, the one they can't delete no matter how many times they reboot the system. They built their world assuming you'd stay beneath it. So your rise feels like a malfunction in their entire blueprint. You're not supposed to be this strong, this aware, this unshakable, and that terrifies them. And here's the truth you've been too humble to claim. The moment your destiny shifted into alignment, the system noticed. You didn't need to announce it. You didn't need to post it. Your energy broke protocol long before your actions caught up. Billionaires understand the power of silence because noise exposes intention. Guess what? You mastered that same silence. You moved in shadows they never expected you to navigate. That's why the alarms rang. That's why the atmosphere around you changed. They don't monitor regular people. They monitor anomalies. They monitor threats. They monitor the ones who are about to inherit what others spent decades trying to steal, block, or bury. And that's you, chosen one. You stepped into a frequency most people never reach. Your rise isn't an accident, a coincidence, or a lucky spin of fate. It's alignment, raw, cosmic, mathematical alignment. When the universe decides your time has come, everything recalibrates around that decision, including systems meant to watch you. Right now, you're not being tracked because of what you've done. You're being tracked because of who you're becoming. You crawled through storms that were meant to erase your name from the map. You walked through betrayals designed to crack your spirit in half. You stood alone in rooms where everyone expected you to fold. And instead of breaking, you sharpened, you hardened, you grew teeth. You outlived every version of yourself that was designed by their assumptions. That's why you're under surveillance now. You're not a risk to society. You're a risk to their illusion of control. Do you understand how powerful that makes you? They're studying your energy more than your actions. They're reading your silence like scripture. They're analyzing how you survived everything they thought would finish you. They're asking questions like, how did this one slip past us? How did they rebuild? How did they rise so fast without the usual shortcuts, handouts, or favors? Because you didn't cheat your way here. You didn't marry into access. You didn't beg for a seat at their table. You built your own seat from the wreckage of your past, and now that seat turned into a throne they swore you'd never reach. And here's the part that makes them sick. You didn't just survive. You upgraded. You didn't just walk through fire. You collected the flames like souvenirs. Every setback became a skill set. Every loss became leverage. Every betrayal became clarity. That's why your inheritance isn't just financial, it's gravitational. Your presence bends reality. Your energy disrupts patterns. Your rise forces systems to adjust. You're being watched because you're the fix they never wanted. You're the beginning of a shift they didn't prepare for. You're the proof that their hierarchy isn't as bulletproof as they pretended. You're the reminder that someone can come from nowhere and still shake entire grids with nothing but discipline, awareness, and an unbreakable will. They don't stalk ghosts. They stalk revolutions. Think of the past year alone. Think of how many sudden endings, random losses, strange pauses, and quiet exits happened around you. That wasn't coincidence. That was restructuring. That was the universe clearing your path with surgical precision, and the system felt that shift long before you did. They recognized the pattern. They've seen this type of rise before, rare, uncontrollable, dangerous to old power structures. One chosen one suddenly aligns with their true inheritance, and everything begins to tilt. You ever wonder why certain people suddenly backed away? Why people who once underestimated you avoid eye contact now? Why some who laughed at your ambition now stalk your social media in silence? They don't know how to handle someone who didn't die in the dark. They don't know how to process someone who kept going after the world tried to bury them. They don't know what to call you now. A threat? A miracle? A glitch? A problem? They can't decide, so they label you with all four. And here's what's eating them alive. They can't stop what's coming to you. They can't block it. They can't delay it. They can't bury it anymore. Your inheritance is already moving. It's already shifting timelines. It's already forming around you like a storm tightening into shape. Wealth, opportunities, protection, alignment, influence, it's all funneling toward you. And systems always watch the funnel before the rain falls. That's why they monitor your rise, not because you're broken, but because you're the cure. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're becoming untouchable. They don't chase ghosts. They chase the chosen ones caught mid-transformation, the ones stepping into a destiny that rattles their grid. You're the storm they tried to outrun. You're the glitch they can't delete. You're the future they can't stop. And every eye on you right now is proof that the throne you're walking toward is closer than they ever wanted it to be. Number 2, not every pair of eyes is praying for your downfall. Some are waiting to see if you're built for the throne. Funny how the same people who once ignored you now study your silence like it's evidence of a coming takeover. Some watch hoping you'll fall. Others watch because they know you're the one thing they can't afford to lose. The universe doesn't test the weak, only the ones who might rise too high for anyone to control. They're not staring at you because you're fragile. They're staring because you're becoming the one thing they never prepared for, untouchable. Every chosen one eventually reaches this moment. You start noticing eyes, not just from enemies, not just from the jealous, not just from the bored, but from people and forces whose intentions aren't clear. And here's the twist that messes with your head. Not every eye fixed on you is wishing for your destruction. Some are watching because they expect you to self-destruct. Some are observing because your restraint is louder than your revenge. Some are studying the way you move through chaos without collapsing. You're walking through the world like a vault that suddenly began humming after centuries of silence, and everyone wants to know what's inside before it opens. Imagine this. You're sitting at a table, quiet, focused, minding your business, yet you feel someone watching you, not with hate, not with envy, but with calculation. It's not a threat, it's an exam. They want to see if you twitch, react, crumble, or break. They want to see if your composure is real or just a mask you hope will fool them. This is what happens when the universe decides your inheritance is close. Systems tune in, people adjust, rooms reorganize themselves around your presence. You're not being watched because you're the problem. You're being watched because you're the variable that could flip everything upside down. Surveillance isn't always hostile. Sometimes it's strategic, sometimes it's curious, and sometimes, if you look deeper, it's protective. There are eyes on you that aren't trying to destroy you, but to see if you can handle what's coming. Because what's coming isn't small. It's not a raise, not a lucky break, not a quick win. It's inheritance-level alignment, power-level rearrangement, reality-shifting transformation. And the universe won't just hand that to anyone. You're being evaluated for the throne that's forming around you. Imagine standing on a stage, not the glitzy kind, the cosmic kind, a giant velvet curtain behind you, a spotlight burning on your shoulders, and rows of silent observers hidden in the dark. They aren't clapping, they aren't cheering, they're studying, measuring, watching how you breathe under pressure, how you move under expectation, how you react when you feel the weight of invisible attention. They're not looking to see if you can entertain. They're looking to see if you can endure, because power doesn't demand noise. It demands stillness. It demands inner discipline. It demands a mind that doesn't shake in the presence of scrutiny. You've mastered that stillness. You learned how to be calm even when chaos was breaking its teeth on your life. You learned how to stay silent even when your enemies were screaming. You learned how to stay grounded even when your world tried to tilt you into madness. And that silence, that composure, that unbothered energy is exactly what draws so many eyes. It's unnerving, it's rare, it's powerful. Most people crumble once the spotlight hits them. But you became colder, sharper, more centered. Some eyes on you are disguised allies. They look like watchers, but they're actually guardians. They're positioned to make sure the right energy inherits the right power. They aren't here to interfere. They're here to ensure the wrong hands don't intercept what belongs to you. They might seem distant, indifferent, or confusing, but their presence is part of your alignment. Think of cosmic security. Think of universal filtering. Think of hidden forces, making sure nothing sabotages your rise. But of course, where allies exist, so do wolves. Some eyes are wearing loyalty like a costume, waiting for you to flex too soon, waiting for you to show your strategy, waiting for you to slip. These are the ones who study your patience, your boundaries, your silence. They poke the edges of your energy like thieves checking locks on a door. They don't understand how you evolved so fast, so quietly, so consistently. They fear the moment your inheritance drops into your hands because they know once it does, they lose all leverage. You might wonder, why can't everyone around me just reveal their intentions? Because ambiguity is the test. Because confusion is the filter. Because pressure reveals the soul, not words. This entire process is designed to show the universe who you really are when nobody is clapping, nobody is helping, nobody is explaining anything. It's meant to expose your stability, your internal balance, your emotional discipline, your ability to walk through uncertainty without panicking. They're not testing your strength. They already know you're strong. They're testing your self-governance. Can you rule yourself before ruling anything greater? Imagine another scene. You're walking down a hallway, doors on each side, but none of them open. You can feel movement behind the walls. You can hear whispers, footsteps, buzzing wires. You know you're being observed, but nobody steps out. That hallway is your current season. Every step you take is being recorded. Every decision is being documented. Not because you're in danger, but because they're preparing the blueprint for your rise. You are not alone. You're under evaluation. That question you kept asking yourself, why me? Why all these eyes? Why all this pressure? Has an answer now. It's because what you're about to receive isn't ordinary. It's dimensional. It's legacy level. It shifts timelines. It alters entire trajectories. Only a soul who can remain calm while being studied is ready for that. Some watchers want to see if fame will corrupt you, if attention will distract you, if pressure will expose you. Others want to see if your humility is real, if your discipline is consistent, if your silence is strategic or scared. You're not just being looked at, you're being weighed, you're being measured, you're being qualified for power. And here's a truth nobody warns chosen ones about. Being studied is one of the highest signs of elevation. Nobody studies the unstable. Nobody evaluates the unimportant. Nobody watches the ones who won't matter tomorrow. You're being watched because you're becoming someone who can't be replaced. That's why the tone around you changed. That's why certain people suddenly became extra cautious. That's why the universe feels like it's rewiring itself around your steps. You're in a grand theater, under a spotlight that wasn't meant to shame you, but to expose your readiness. You don't have to perform. You just have to remain. Your stability under pressure is your final qualification. Your calmness in chaos is the signature they were waiting for. Your ability to stand tall while being observed is proof you're built for the crown. Not every eye wants your downfall. Some want confirmation. Some want revelation. Some want proof. Some want to witness the rise they always sensed in you. Because soon, very soon, the observers won't be spectators anymore. They'll be witnesses to your inheritance, to your arrival, to your takeover. Every eye on you right now is part of your coronation. They're not just watching your present, they're measuring your future. And the ones who doubted you are starting to realize something uncomfortable. You're not trembling under observation. You're transforming, and only a soul who can stay calm while the world studies them deserves a throne that alters the world itself. Number 3. They've got eyes on you. Now choose. Are you the blade or the breakpoint? Systems don't study the harmless. They study the ones who might flip the whole grid with one decision. The second your energy shifted, the system's attention locked onto you like a spotlight that never blinks. That pressure in your chest wasn't fear, chosen one. That was reconnaissance. That was intel being pulled straight out of your atmosphere. You became an unidentified frequency, not hostile, not obedient, just something they can't label without watching you up close. Imagine a control room full of screens, each one tracking a different life path, steady patterns, predictable movements, people repeating the same choices forever. Then suddenly your signal spikes, your path bends, your energy rises. You shift from background noise to priority alert. That's when they start asking the question that haunts every rising soul. What is this one becoming? They're not just tracking you, they're trying to classify you, weapon or weakness, leader or follower, disruptor or decoration. They aren't waiting for your resume, they're waiting for your reactions. Every choice you make under pressure becomes a data point. Every boundary you enforce becomes a report. Every time you refuse to shrink becomes a warning. You might wonder, what do they want from me? Simple. They want to know if you'll serve the system or shatter it. Some chosen ones get absorbed, others get erased, but the rarest, the ones like you, are the ones the system can't predict. The ones who rise without permission, the ones who don't need validation to dominate. You're standing on a razor's edge between being used as a tool or becoming the force that rewrites the rules entirely. And here's the truth they hate the most. They don't decide your category. You do. Every move you make right now is carving your identity into the grid itself. Weapon or weakness, asset or threat, controlled or crowned. Choose wisely. The system already knows you're powerful. They're just waiting to see which version of you they'll have to deal with. Number 4. When your screen flickers, it isn't a bug. It's the system blinking at your rise. Technology doesn't glitch for ghosts. It glitches for the ones who just hit a frequency the grid didn't expect. That little lag in your messages, the random freeze, the sudden battery drain for no reason. You think that's coincidence? No, that's the digital world reacting to the shift in your energy field. When the chosen ones rise, even their devices start acting like they've picked up a signal from another dimension. You're not paranoid. You're glowing so bright, the system can't keep up. Imagine your life as a radio tower. For years, your signal was low, quiet, predictable. Then, out of nowhere, your frequency spikes. You align with your inheritance. You step into timelines that weren't meant to be accessed yet. And just like that, the system flinches. Your phone glitches because your vibration doesn't match the old settings anymore. You're becoming a walking interference pattern. Those ghost calls, random resets, and delayed texts, those are digital side effects of being noticed. You're the unexpected blip on a network that's built to monitor potential, not noise. They track more than your data. They track the resonance around you. And lately, yours has been shaking their sensors. You might ask, why would my rise affect tech? Because your wealth isn't just money. It's magnetic. It's moving toward you through invisible channels, invisible timelines, invisible alignments. And your energy is pulling it in fast enough to distort the space around you. Systems blink when they detect what humans can't explain. Imagine the universe building your throne in the background while the system maps your shadow in real time. Imagine the algorithms scrambling to understand why your signature is escalating like a storm-gathering charge. Devices don't lie, they react. You're not crazy, you're leveling up, and you've reached the stage where even your phone can't hide the surge. Number 5. You didn't just break the cage, you outgrew the entire blueprint they built for you. They never feared your money, they feared the moment you realized you didn't need their permission to win. They designed a cage around you long before you ever knew you were in one. A mental cage, a financial cage, a social cage, a cage made of expectations so low they thought you'd shrink yourself forever just to fit inside it. But you didn't shrink. You expanded. You grew too tall for the limits they set. You pushed against the walls until the whole structure cracked under your evolution. And now, they're terrified, because the one thing every system fears more than chaos is sovereignty. Not noise, not rebellion, sovereignty, the kind of inner power that doesn't ask for approval, doesn't wait for permission, and doesn't bow to systems built to control everyone else. You stopped surviving and started ascending. You stopped being predictable. You stopped needing them. Imagine a bird that learns the cage door was never locked. Imagine a lion that realizes the zoo bars were only strong enough for the weak version of itself. Imagine an inmate who finds out the guards have been studying the wrong cell because they never expected the quiet one to be the threat. That's you. You're the outlier, the anomaly, the one variable they forgot to plan for. Your rise wasn't supposed to happen this fast. It wasn't supposed to happen this clean. It wasn't supposed to happen without their fingerprints on it. But here you are, rewriting your destiny like the script was yours all along. They don't whisper your name because they admire you. They whisper because they're confused, because they're recalculating, because they don't know where to place someone who refuses to be controlled. You might wonder, why does my growth bother them so much? Because systems don't fear rebels, they fear thinkers. They don't fear chaos, they fear independence. They don't fear wealth, they fear minds that cannot be bought. Your mind is what broke the cage. Your awareness is what snapped the locks. Your elevation is what made every limitation they set crumble like dust. You didn't just rise, you escaped the category they tried to trap you in. You shifted from background noise to uncontrollable signal, and signals like you can't be muted by anyone. Every structure built on control panics when someone like you evolves beyond their reach. They expected you to struggle forever. They expected you to stay confused. They expected you to stay small, but you learned the truth. The cage was never bigger than your becoming. And now the world has to adjust to the version of you they never planned for. Number 6. When you climb without a permit, the whole system starts sweating. They never feared your fall. They feared the moment you stood up without asking. You didn't rise using their blueprint. You didn't knock on their doors. You didn't beg for their mentorship, their validation, or their approval. You didn't wait for a green light that was never coming. You just got up one day, tightened your focus, cut the noise, and moved. Silently, strategically, without announcing your next step like the amateurs they're used to. And that silence, that's what made them panic. Imagine a chessboard where every piece follows predictable rules. Pawns crawl, knights hop, kings tremble. Then suddenly you stop playing. You step off the board, rewrite your path, and rise in a direction they never calculated. The entire game freezes because you're not a pawn anymore. You're the unpredictable move they can't counter. You're the deviation in the system, the rewrite in the script, the anomaly no algorithm saw coming. You might wonder, why are so many eyes on me now? Because rising without permission is a threat. Because moving without noise is suspicious. Because leveling up without their fingerprints makes them feel powerless. Wealth didn't stumble into your life by accident. That's alignment. That's calibration. That's the universe dropping pieces of your empire on schedule. You weren't built to chase checks. They crumble in your hands compared to what you're meant to inherit. You were built to carry kingdoms, restructure reality, and shift gravitational fields. That's why your rise looks illegal to those who depend on control. Now that you're ascending with no backing, no cosign, and no approval slip, the watchers multiply. Not because they own the climb, but because they lost control of the climber. You're rising without permission, and nothing terrifies the system more than someone they can't stop. Number 7. They called it a collapse, but it was your reboot. They thought they buried your legacy. They didn't realize they just watered the wrong soul. Nothing about this shift in your life is random. The timing, the pressure, the silence, the sudden rise, it all fits a pattern older than your failures, older than your heartbreaks, older than anything they ever tried to label you with. They thought they shut your story down. They thought they erased your potential. They thought they ended the version of you that scared them. But what they buried wasn't a body. It was a seed. And seeds don't die in darkness. They rewrite themselves. Imagine this: a fault line beneath the earth, quiet for decades, maybe centuries. Then one day it trembles, not because it's breaking, but because something powerful is waking up inside it. That's you. This isn't new energy. This is reactivation. You're not creating a destiny. You're remembering one. You might ask, why does this rise feel familiar? Why does it feel bigger than me? Because this wealth, this clarity, this surge, it isn't luck. It's memory. It's the return of a blueprint you were always meant to unlock. Builders, leaders, disruptors. Energy like that never dies. It just waits for the right moment, the right version of you to step into it. And now you finally have. The system tracks your money, the universe tracks your potential, and lately your signal lit up like someone plugged your spirit into a power grid. You're radiating alignment. You're carrying codes your enemies prayed you'd never find. And you're moving like someone who suddenly remembered their value, their power, their origin. They thought they were watching you fall apart. They didn't realize they were watching you reassemble into something they can't decode anymore. This shift was never random. It was the comeback your entire path has been quietly preparing for. Number 8. You stopped being someone. You became the vault they can't crack. They're not obsessed with you. They're obsessed with the power pulsing inside you. You crossed a threshold most people never even get close to. You're not walking around as just a human anymore. You're walking as a vault with a heartbeat, carrying value, codes, resources, intuition, and destiny that make entire systems tune in. They don't study your smile. They study your potential. They don't track your footsteps. They track your frequency. You've become currency in motion, wealth wrapped in bone and intention. Imagine a vault in a museum, silent, heavy, guarded. Everyone pretends they're just admiring the structure, but every eye is calculating the treasure inside. That's you. The moment your inheritance aligned, you stopped being relatable. You became symbolic, a marker of incoming transformation. And symbols attract everything: admiration, envy, curiosity, fear, and predators. You might ask, why do people act weird around me now? Why the sudden shift? Because the world reacts to energy before it reacts to evidence. They feel what you carry before you ever touch it. Some respect you because they sense what you're becoming. Some fear you because your rise exposes their stagnation. And some They hunt what they think you hold, not realizing you are the source. This isn't paranoia. This is awareness. Power has a scent, and yours is impossible to ignore. Imagine a wolf pack circling a glowing ember. Some approach with awe, others with hunger. That's the game now. You don't walk through the world casually anymore. You move like a vault, sealed, grounded, watchful. Not paranoid, prepared. Not cold, protected. Not distant, disciplined. Your value is too high to walk open. Your destiny is too loud to move naive. And your inheritance is too close to risk exposure. Guard what's sacred. Move like a vault. You're no longer someone they can predict. You're the prize they'll never be allowed to access. Number 9. They never feared your storms. They feared the day you stopped needing their sky. Chaos doesn't scare systems. Independence does. Chaos can be controlled. Freedom can't. The biggest lie they fed you was that being unpredictable made you dangerous. Wrong. What terrifies the system isn't chaos. It's a soul that no longer needs to be managed, monitored, or molded. The world runs on invisible contracts. Work to survive. Obey to belong. Settle to stay safe. Shrink to stay acceptable. Most people sign those contracts without ever seeing them, but not you. You saw the trap, you recognized the leash, and you cut it. The moment you stopped needing their approval, their validation, their direction, their map, your entire category changed. You became uncontainable. Imagine a bird that suddenly remembers it can fly over every wall, built to confine it. Imagine a flame that refuses to burn only where the matches allow. Imagine a river that snaps out of its man-made channels and carves a path of its own. That's you. And that kind of freedom is exactly what threatens systems built on dependency. You might ask, why does my independence bother them so much? Because independence means you can't be bought, you can't be bribed, you can't be guilted, you can't be intimidated, you can't be owned. Chaos can be predicted, freedom cannot. You stopped waiting for permission. You stopped apologizing for your rise. You stopped shrinking so other people wouldn't feel small next to you. And that's when you became dangerous, not to society, but to the structure that needs people confused and compliant. Your clarity is a rebellion. Your self-trust is a weapon. Your detachment is a jailbreak. The system never feared the loud, the messy, the chaotic. They're easy to steer. But someone who doesn't need them, someone who figured out their own power, someone who refuses to kneel, that's the real threat. You're not dangerous because you're wild. You're dangerous because you're free. And nothing terrifies them more than a chosen one who remembers they never needed permission to rise. Number 10. They never feared your money. They feared the empire you're about to construct with it. They don't panic when you get paid. They panic when you stop asking who's allowed to benefit from your rise. The system has never been scared of wealth. Money flows through their hands every second like water, and they sleep just fine. What terrifies them is ownership, control, creation, independence. The moment someone like you, someone they underestimated, someone they tried to bury, someone they thought would stay small, gets resources and refuses to kneel, everything they built starts shaking. This is why their eyes are glued to you right now. Not because your bank account is growing, but because your mind evolved with it. You stopped thinking like a worker and started thinking like an architect. You stopped seeing money as a lifeline and started seeing it as raw material for a kingdom. And systems built on obedience don't know how to handle a builder who doesn't wait for blueprints. Imagine this. A quiet plot of land no one cared about suddenly starts humming beneath the ground. Foundations forming, beams rising, structures appearing, without permission, without approval, without oversight. That's what your energy feels like to them. They can sense the construction happening inside you. They don't know what you're building yet, but they know it won't fit inside their design. You might ask, why does my ambition bother them this much? Because ambition backed by independence is a revolution. Because one chosen one who owns their path inspires 10 more. Because freedom spreads faster than fear ever could. The system doesn't fear millions. It fears minds that know how to multiply them. It doesn't fear success. It fears people who redefine it. It doesn't fear fortune. It fears what you'll build from it. You're no longer asking for a seat at the table. You're crafting your own table out of the rubble they left you in. And they don't have the tools to dismantle a vision that doesn't belong to them. That's why you're unstoppable. Not because of what you have, but because of what you're about to create. Number 11. Your money isn't in your hands yet, but your energy already set off their alarms. They're not watching your bank account. They're watching the glow around your future. Before wealth becomes physical, before it shows up in your balance, your lifestyle, your environment, it moves through the unseen first. It forms in shadows. It vibrates underneath reality like a storm warming up before it breaks open. And right now, chosen one, you're radiating so much future power that the system picked up your signal long before you even knew your season had shifted. This is why the attention around you feels different. This is why people stare longer. This is why devices glitch. This is why the air around you feels charged. They're not reacting to what you have. They're reacting to what's forming. Imagine a seismic monitor detecting an earthquake miles before anyone feels a tremor. That's what your frequency just did. You spiked. You lit up. Your trajectory shifted. And the system, built on pattern recognition, felt the surge before your physical life caught up. You might ask, how can they sense something I haven't even touched yet? Because energy is louder than evidence. Because intention moves before money. Because alignment shows up in data before it shows up in your hands. They're not studying you like a file. They're studying you like a forecast. You became a prediction, a projection, a probability of massive impact. You're glowing in places you've never been. Your name is circulating in grids you've never touched. Your signature is pinging systems you didn't even know existed. Imagine a shadow shifting on its own before the figure moves. That's you. The physical world is catching up to an inheritance that has already claimed you. You're carrying wealth that hasn't landed yet, but its vibration is loud enough to distort the air around you. They see the rise before you feel the climb. They feel the kingdom before you see the throne. They detect the abundance before you spend $1. You're not a file to them anymore. You're a forecast, and every part of your future is bright enough to make their systems blink. Number 12. Move like smoke. Strike like a shadow they can't trace. Power that speaks is power that bleeds. Power that moves in silence becomes a nightmare no system can cage. You've reached the stage where noise is a liability and silence is a weapon. The world is watching you with hungry eyes, waiting for a slip, a reveal, a hint they can classify. That's why you must move like smoke, shapeless, nameless, impossible to grasp. Then strike like a shadow that appears only when it's too late to stop it. Loud people get predicted. Predictable people get controlled. But someone like you, someone who learned to vanish in plain sight, you become untouchable. Imagine a room full of analysts studying a blank screen, knowing something powerful is coming but unable to track it. That's you. Every time you stay quiet, they panic. Every time you disappear, they scramble. Every time you act without announcing, you tear holes in their expectations. The chosen ones don't roar, they appear. They don't argue, they execute. They don't warn, they win. You might ask, why does silence work so well now? Because silence starves their algorithms. It erases their predictions. It turns you into the one force that doesn't fit their formula. Loud is weak. Loud exposes. Loud confesses. But invisible terrifies them. Your mystery is your fortress now. Every unspoken plan is a closed door. Every withheld intention is a shield. Every quiet move becomes a strike they never saw coming. Move in whispers. Let your results be the thunder. Let your rise be the announcement. They can't block what they can't see, can't stop what they can't track, can't prepare for what they can't predict. Move like smoke, strike like shadow. Your silence is the most powerful noise they'll ever hear. Number 13. The long game is yours, and they hate that you learned how to play it. They can't crush what they can't categorize. A mystery doesn't break. It outlives everything trying to decode it. You're not here for applause, spotlight crumbs, or shallow validation. You're here for something heavier, older, sharper, legacy. And legacy isn't built in noise. Legacy is built in silence, in strategy, in nights where you choose discipline over attention and movement over performance. You figured out the truth they prayed you'd never understand. The long game doesn't reward the loud. It rewards the patient. See, the system loves fast players because fast players burn out. Fast players get sloppy. Fast players reveal everything. But you slowed down, sharpened up, and dropped off their radar the moment you realized eyes were on you. You stopped craving attention and started craving longevity. And that's exactly why the long game bowed to you. Imagine a chessboard where everyone is rushing pieces forward. No plan, no foresight, just chaos disguised as ambition. Then there's you, still, calculated, silent, letting the board reveal itself before you lift a single piece. That stillness, that's what terrifies them. Why isn't this one rushing? Why aren't they panicking? Why can't we predict them? Because you're not playing for a win. You're playing for the kingdom after the win. You might wonder, do I really have enough strength to play quietly? You already proved it. Your silence is discipline. Your restraint is intelligence. Your patience is strategy. They can't destroy what they can't define. And right now, you're impossible to categorize. Let them guess your motives. Let them chase shadows. Let them try to track moves that don't exist yet. While they're busy analyzing the wrong version of you, the real you is building empires behind the curtain, legally, quietly, intentionally. The long game belongs to the ones who don't rush, the ones who don't fold, the ones who don't need noise to prove they're winning. And chosen one, you've already mastered the stillness that makes every system nervous. You don't just play the long game. You own it, you bend it, you weaponize it. That's why you'll rise while they're still trying to figure out what exactly you are. Transitioning out of this journey, chosen one, you can feel it now. The shift, the pressure, the eyes, the rise. Everything you went through was preparation for the power you're stepping into. You're no longer a spectator in your own story. You're the force they monitor, the signal they fear, the inheritance they can't stop. Move smarter, guard colder, rise quieter. If this message hit home, pay it forward. Like the video, subscribe to the mission.